Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by my other employer, Road & Track, and their new experience offering, Rally U. I just did the Road & Track Route to Vine event. I helped make the route, and it was amazing. The hotels were awesome, the food was awesome, the people were awesome, and the cars were awesome. And their next event is called Rally U. It's July 15th and 16th up in the Seattle area. They've got first-class hotels, first-class dining. The R&T staff will be there to talk cars with everyone who participates. But most importantly, it's got a half-day driving school at Dirtfish, the most premier rally school in North America. This is going to be such an awesome event. It's a little shorter than the Route to Vine. It's only 2 days, July 15th and 16th, but there are beautiful Washington roads on the route. You've got the rally school, and the hotels and restaurants that they have booked are fantastic. I helped make the driving route for this one as well. It is going to be off the chain. So to check it out for yourself, go to roadandtrack.com/experiences and then just click on Rally U. They've got a few different experiences listed for stuff that's upcoming later in the year, but Rally U is the one we're talking about today. So go to roadandtrack.com/experiences and then click on the Rally U icon. Get involved yourself. I've done Dirtfish. It's really, really cool. And I've seen the accommodations and the restaurants and the route for this one. It is going to be badass. We're also brought to you in part today by the Blackview dash cams, and now it's even easier to stay connected to your car and monitor it from everywhere with the Blackview DR750X 2-channel LTE Plus. It is a mouthful, but each of those things mean something. Each dash cam comes with an all-new Blackview SIM card, meaning you can easily connect your dash cam to the cloud straight out of the box. This 2-channel Blackview dash cam comes with both front and rear cameras, and you can enjoy clear image quality day and night thanks to the full HD Sony Starvis image sensor at a wide 139-degree view angle. Blackview's LTE dash cam is what you really need if you're considering a cloud-connected dash cam. It comes with the free Blackview app, allowing you to connect to your cam directly over the cloud, get impact notifications, download videos to your phone, watch live view, and more. And the SIM card, now included with the North American version of this camera, is all you need to connect to the Blackview cloud. The SIM card automatically activates upon powering up after being inserted into the Blackview SIM reader. You just pick a data plan and get 1 month for free. And the ultimate peace of mind when you're away from your car is the cloud-connected dash cam with a parking mode accessory. Blackview automatically switches to parking mode to monitor your parked vehicle. Thanks to the video buffer, the few seconds leading to triggering events are also recorded. So when paired with the Blackview Cloud, parking mode lets your dash cam save event videos to the cloud in real time just as they happen. I love my Blackview dash cam. It makes me feel protected every time I leave my car parked, and I might even catch an amazing scene happening in front of me like I did yesterday with the 12 o'clock boys going down Venice Boulevard on their quads with passengers on the back. It was crazy. So go to Blackview, BLACKVUE.com/TST to learn more about the Blackview DR750X 2-channel LTE Plus dash cam and the Blackview SIM card. Use the promo code TIRE to get 10% off any Blackview dash cam. Free shipping for orders over $200. Blackview.com/TST, promo code TIRE, baby. It's all about that dash cam. We're also brought to you today in part by Evercoat. Evercoat is a new product for professionals and home mechanics. Maybe you've got a dent in your car that needs fixing, or maybe you're restoring an old classic. Evercoat Body Shop has the right product for your project. Evercoat takes the guesswork out of bodywork. It's a simple 3-step process. Just prep, fill, and sand. Their perfect mix guide makes it easy to get the right ratio of filler and cream hardener. It dries in just 15 minutes and it'll sand down 50% faster than the competition, so there's less waiting around. Evercoat is the #1 brand used by professionals, and they can help you get professional results too. Find Evercoat Body Shop products at your nearest Advance Auto Parts store. Man, this sounds like a good product. Go to Advance Auto Parts and ask for Evercoat Body Shop by name. It is, whether you're a professional or just a home mechanic, it will be the perfect way for you to finish that body work on that project car and give you a flawless finish. And we're also brought to you in part today by LMNT. It's pronounced element, but it's spelled LMNT because it's techie, right? Can't have vowels. You must lose all vowels. LMNT is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt and no sugar. It's true. The box says salty AF on it. It's very cheeky. It contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio with 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 600 milligrams of magnesium, but with none of the junk. No sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no filters, and no BS. LMNT is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Electrolyte deficiency or imbalances can cause headaches, cramps, fatigues, and fatigues, plural, and weakness. And when you sweat, the primary electrolyte lost is sodium, and you can lose up to 7 grams per day. When you don't replace it, it's common to experience muscle cramps and fatigue. I tried LMNT. I thought it was pretty tasty, actually. Considering there's no sugar and considering there's none of those things that make drinks taste good, I was impressed. I drank some before my workout. I felt hydrated. I felt pretty good. A little less tired than normal. It was great. LMNT is used by everyone from moms and dads to NBA, NFL, and NHL players, Olympic athletes, Navy SEALs, and exercise enthusiasts. LMNT is so sure you'll love the product and come back for more. They're offering you a free LMNT Sample Pack. That's 8 single serving packets for free. Just cover the cost of shipping, which is $5 in the U.S. Get yours at drinkelement.com/tire. That is drink, D-R-I-N-K, LMNT.com/tire. This deal is not available on their regular website. You must go to DRINKLMNT.com/tire. Try it totally risk-free. If you don't like it, share it with a salty friend and we'll give you your money back. No questions asked. You have absolutely nothing to lose. DrinkLMNT.com/tire. All right, folks, today is a cruise show. Zach and I talk about the new Range Rover he's been driving, the Audi S8 I was driving. We talk about why Elon Musk potentially buying Twitter and taking it private is a bad idea. I review my Mexican vacation, and we take lots of questions from the Patreon. It's a cruise show. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Okay, cool. Well, it's a show. Here we are. I am full vacation beard, and Zach is no longer Tom Selleck. You really kept that mustache going for longer than I expected you to.
Me too. I kind of had fun, and then I got lazy.
I thought it was going to be gone like the second the fucking race was over.
That was the original plan.
Yeah.
But I got enough people where they're like, oh, that's kind of fun and entertaining. I was like, all right. And then I realized I can't just do a voice
When you got invited to your third orgy, you were like, okay, maybe this is too much.
with the wrong gender. It kept like, I'm not used to the tickling. So like my lip and nose kept going like, what's on my face? And I was just looking at it at the hotel and I was like, this comes off now.
Yeah.
So I lawnmowered it. Yeah.
It went for a minute. Yeah, it did. I was on vacation. I went to Mexico.
Yeah, it looked nice.
It was nice. I mean, well, it was nice and it was also not nice. Like, it was nice because we stayed at the Nobu Hotel, and For those of you who have never heard of the Nobu brand, it's a fancy schmancy Japanese restaurant in LA, in Malibu. And they ventured out into hotels that are kind of extensions of the brand. Mm-hmm. The Nobu restaurant at the hotel was fucking identical to the one in Malibu.
Really?
Look, feel, the layout, the menu. But then they had like 3 other restaurants at the hotel. One was a Mexican, one was a steakhouse, one was like just one used to be Malibu Farm, but they ditched the Malibu Farm branding, and now it's just like the restaurant or something. Mm-hmm. But they're all fucking Nobu. It's like this one's like Nobu does Mexican. This one is like Nobu does a steakhouse. So the food, overall, it was the best hotel food I've ever had by a lot. The hotel food was amazing. Also, the most expensive hotel food I've ever had by a lot. The food and drink bill was more than the bill for the room. And I didn't get the most expensive room. There was crazy fucking rooms,
sure,
suites and shit. But I didn't get the cheapest one either. Our room had a private pool. It's pretty sick. Pretty nice fucking room. This hotel's only like 2 years old. And I was very impressed. The hotel massage therapy, normally you go to a resort, the quality of the massage will not be great. Like it'll be okay, relaxing, whatever. They got the nice spas and the hot tubs. But it's like if you get like sports medicine massages regularly because your body's fucked up, which I do, I've never been impressed with any resort massage. And they're like triple the price of a sports medicine massage too. And so I was more impressed with that than I thought I would be. So shout out to Nobu for that. On the other hand, on the way in, these motherfuckers tried to sell us a timeshare. Like they're like building residences next to the hotel. Right. And after, it's not that long of a flight, but like flight, customs, all that bullshit. Now, and then you're in the car and it's like a drive an hour or so from the airport to the hotel. You're kind of tired. You're there. The check-in procedure was very long, and at the very end of the check-in procedure, because they do ask you about all your preferences. They help you make reservations for the restaurants, like right when you get there. But you're kind of like, motherfucker, I'd like to go to my room. Mm-hmm. And then they go, here's the map of the resort, and here is where your room is. Here's where the pools are. Here's where this is. And here is where our new residences are. And we can give you a $300 credit if you take the meeting. And we're like, I'm sorry, are you fucking timesharing us right
meeting, yeah.
And it was like, everyone speaks English there, but it was like, I don't know if they understood our contempt for that part of the process. It did not feel luxurious at that moment. They never brought it up again, fortunately.
Yeah, you sent the right signal to
I sent the right signal. It never brought it up again. And throughout my stay, I saw people in the lobby taking the fucking meeting for this. People were,
they might want to buy a hotel room.
Going for it.
People do that, man. Like Ritz-Carlton stuff, they have the residences.
Yeah,
and people want to buy that. And
I guess there's a kind of person for whom that does make sense. It ain't me. And I'm glad that at the first no, they let it go. But like, I was like, you motherfuckers, like, I just got here. You're trying to sell me a timeshare.
The Range Rover launch was at a very, very nice, of course, resort in, like, near Napa in Sonoma.
Yeah.
It's only been there a year.
What was it called?
Montauk.
Oh, yeah.
And
we looked at that for the road and track thing as one of the options.
Really nice. And the rooms are really nice and all these other things. And they also have residences they're building.
Yeah.
And I guess if you want to live up, go up there to your own place occasionally and stay on a vineyard, sure, and then just walk down to a restaurant. I don't know why you do that instead of just renting a hotel room.
The other thing I learned about Cabo, Cabo San Lucas is at the very tip of the Baja Peninsula, the little finger that hangs off of Mexico, right? And it's Cabo is fucking Cape, right? So the actual city is facing dead south in a cape, right? It's very protected by mountains on both sides. So it's very calm water, not a lot of wind. It's hot, right? The sun fucking cooks down there. For the last 20 years, most of the resorts are on the eastern Sea of Cortez side of this peninsula. The wind comes off the Pacific. It's all, so these resorts.
They all face east?
They all face east, right? Nobu faces west. It's on the west side, the Pacific side. So it's fucking windy.
Oh, but you get sunsets.
you do get sunsets. It was beautiful, and one of the days it wasn't that windy, but 3 of the days it was like fucking blowing
all day long.
Pretty much.
I wonder if that's a seasonal thing.
It might have been. A couple of the folks there were like, yeah, it's a little windier than normal. But just something to consider if you're going to, we didn't actually think about it, which as someone who lives on the beach in California, I probably could have put that together. But it didn't say anywhere like, oh, by the way, it's windy as a motherfucker over here.
They're not going to say that in a brochure.
Well, no, and like TripAdvisor or anything like that. But if you kind of like the main part of Cabo, it's so fucking hokey and touristy, and you can only buy garbage. Now, granted, there's some excellent street tacos, like awesome, straight up local, cash only tacos that we had that were like superb. And for like $4, I got a torta that was the size of this fucking Porsche.
Jeez.
Like I thought it was going to be, normal torta size, which is like the size of like a Big Mac, right, in diameter.
Right.
Instead, I got one that was like a foot long and like 4 inches high.
Holy crap.
And I was like, what the fuck is this? But like, there was 3, the one day we went into town, there's like 3 cruise ships unloaded. There's like 10,000 people fucking dumped in this city. And it was just a shit show of fucking epic proportions. So you want to really... If you're going to go to Cabo, you pretty much want to find a great resort that has lots of stuff for you to do there, or maybe just sit by the pool or sit whatever. But like, don't go to the public beaches because they're a shit show of like people trying to sell you garbage and tourists that are just like really annoying. And I realize that I say that as a tourist, but like annoying tourists, the kind of tourists you don't want to be around. Yeah, I eat a lot of good food. Nobu doing a steakhouse?
That's
probably
good.
Fucking aces.
How was their Mexican?
Great, but heavily shellfish focused, and my wife is allergic to shellfish.
Oh.
So what I ate was really, really good, but there was kind of limited to what she could have.
She had the butter noodles off the kids menu.
Yeah, but no, they gave a fuck down there. They did a very nice job, and the pool was baller. We had a little pool, like a plunge pool at our room, but like the main pool was fucking baller. And there was a fan, his name was Nick, fan of the podcast, was getting married down there. And it was the only fucking fan experience I had down there was this dude Nick, and his mom was like, my son is he didn't want to come up to me. And his mother flagged me down, which was very nice of her.
That's cool.
And we chatted with them for a little bit. Great place to have a wedding.
Did they ask you to minister the wedding?
No, but they did invite Hannah and I to their dinner, which we did not take them up on, but it was very nice.
That could go 2 ways. That could go a great way or a bad way.
Yeah, this dude's got an R8 V8 stick and an old 2002. Nice chap from Canada.
Well chosen, Nick.
From Vancouver. Yeah, man of taste. And he was doing a week at Nobu for his wedding. Like fucking not a lightweight, this one.
No kidding.
But I would recommend this hotel, definitely. It was fucking cool. Just look up the wind seasonality if you plan on, sitting by the pool.
It's like going to Hawaii in December. You're like, oh, why is it gray and raining? It's like, because it's December. There's a busy season, and there's a reason it's busy at certain seasons.
It was 78, but 78 with a 15-mile-an-hour wind is not really 78, is it?
Right. You don't want to lay by the ocean. Or by
you jump in the pool and you get out and you're like, I'm cold. Like, what the fuck? But and it was a nice. It's hard for me to like not do work. It's hard for me to not do stuff. To sit by the pool or at the beach and like read a book.
I tried very hard to not text you. I think I had to text you twice.
I mean, it was okay. I didn't mind if you texted me, but I usually need an activity or something.
Yeah.
So it's hard to.
You're not good at sitting.
No, but I read.
Didn't you read like 5 books?
I read 2. Yeah, I did. I read one called Setting the Table by Danny Meyer, this like celebrity restaurateur, a bunch of chefs in New York, a bunch of restaurants in New York, and he started Shake Shack.
Oh, okay.
It's the Shake Shack guy.
I've still not had Shake Shack. I was going to go to it at the Charlotte airport, and the line was humongous, and I went, never mind.
For what it is, it's pretty good.
It's a burger. It's a fast food burger.
It's a fast food burger, but generally made by people who give a little bit more of a fuck.
Right, okay. Five Guys, or is it like that level?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a normal hamburger.
Yes.
That's good because like McDonald's and Burger King to me are not normal hamburgers.
Yeah. It's a burger made of cow.
Like yeah.
But this book was, in theory, it was about the hospitality industry and how to really set high standards for hospitality. And here at Westside, we are in the hospitality industry, and so I thought I could get something out of it. But it was a lot of he really congratulated himself a lot. There were some times he talked about failures, and there was probably 15 pages of great advice about hospitality.
How long was the book?
340 pages.
Oh, yeah. That is not not the right percentage. That's 5.
That's not the right percentage.
5% of the book was useful.
It was not the right percentage, but I did get through it. Yeah.
That's like a Doritos bag where 5% of the interior is chips and 95 is air. Like fuck.
Yeah. So anyway, while I was gone, you went to go drive the new Range Rover.
I did.
Was it awesome?
Yeah, it's really very, very, very nice.
The last new Range Rover was in 2013 when I went to Amangiri, which is the sickest hotel in America, probably. They rented the whole place, and the car was like, holy fuck, this is incredible.
I mean, it's the next step of holy fuck, this is incredible. So it's all new chassis, all new unibody, bunch of new tech. Jamal Hamidi is like the technical director now, and
Jamal rules.
He was super cool. He used to run SVT back in the 4GT and Raptor days.
Jamal Hamidi was responsible for the 04 to 06 4GT, the modern Shelby GT 500, and the Raptor.
Yep.
Yeah. And the Shelby GT350R.
Yeah.
That was his last project.
Proudest achievements, he said. Yeah. He sat at my table for dinner, which is really cool by happenstance. So I sat with him and Lynn Woodward and Al Vasquez, who was like my driving partner. But so the interior of this car just continues to take steps forward. Like I remember the last one when it was new was a big step forward in materials, design, like just the mix of
it was an interior made of pillows, basically.
This is less pillows. It just looks and feels more opulent, but everything you touch is really nice. Even the synthetic leather is really nice, and then the real leather is, of course, really nice.
I remember Jamal tweeted or put something on Instagram about the wood, how difficult it was to get the wood panels to like line up in the interior.
Everything is tight.
Yeah.
Tight. I saw one stitch that wasn't perfectly straight, like out of 3 cars I sat in, and it was just where, like a T-junction, where one stitch meets another, so it tugs on it a little bit. It looks really, really tight and really pristine, and I mean, it is a very luxurious place to sit and look at. And the first one I got in was like a dark blue interior, and this was a long wheelbase car, 4-seat setup. And
the chauffeur deal?
The chauffeured one with like the automatic reclining seats. I mean, it's like sitting in business class.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And then I drove a first edition for a day, and that was all white interior, which looks great and makes quite an entrance, but you go, well, in 6 months, how clean will any of this look? And then the last one I drove was the most expensive one they have right now, which is like third most expensive. It's the SV. There's like the Insignia line.
That's the fast one.
Well, they have a bunch of them that actually have the same 4.4 liter twin turbo V8. This is not like the SVR. The SV is like the Autobiography Plus.
Oh.
And so it has certain material choices, certain color choices, and it's like $250,000.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
They've figured it out.
Well, they watched what Urus and Bentayga and Cullinan did.
Yeah.
And they went, we could sell it for what?
Yeah.
And then they were like, fuck, put more leather in it, goddammit. Like, the range I drove, like the price range.
Is that new?
Like
that's an all new engine? 4.4 twin turbo.
Yeah, but it comes from BMW, I think.
It's BMW's?
Oh, yeah, 4.4 liter. I mean, the spread is crazy. You can get one for like $104,000, like base. But then.
Do they have one of those there?
No.
Yeah.
The cheapest one I drove was the P400, which is the V6 turbo that's a mild hybrid.
Oh, so that's the same as the Defender engine?
Yeah, same as the Defender.
It's an inline 6.
Yeah.
Inline
it's just
6. Like twin charge, super
fine.
And turbocharged, yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. Like, the car is heavy. It feels a lot slower than the Defender did.
Yeah.
Once you're up to speed, who really cares? I think I'm more excited for the upcoming plug-in hybrid, which is like 50 miles of range, 87 miles an hour. And then in 2 years, they're going to have an EV version coming out, which is going to be like, that's where this should be at, really.
Yeah.
So everything was very, very nice. Looks great. Feels great. There are so many bells, whistles, and motors in this car. Like, owning one of these out of warranty, possibly even in warranty. I mean,
good luck to you, son.
One of the executive packages, the long wheelbase, you have to press a button in the back console to get to your cup holder, and you wait for this motor to extend.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It was the 5-seat configuration where you fold down the middle seat and then you have like the full executive armrest, which is pretty sick. Like, all right, now you kind of have the best of both worlds. But waiting 12 seconds for that to open was funny. And, you know, if the cup holder breaks in this car, God forbid, like the executive will be upset.
Yeah, it's $2,000 to fix the cup holder.
So I didn't have a lot of complaint. Like there's that, and then the knobs to control the temp and the fan are like 3-function knobs. So remember Audi when they first came out with that, where you could spin the knob and then you push it and it chooses
does different
fan.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So this one is similar, but it's like you push and pull.
Oh.
But the knob, the depth of it itself is like half an inch.
Not really enough to
it's not,
pull.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's an Alex Honnold handhold. And
that's a good line.
It's
Did you use that one? That's
nope,
a
just
good
thought
one.
of it.
That's too bad.
Of course,
That's a
hindsight
good
for
one.
me. Voiceover.
Oh, yeah.
So that was just a little bit weird, but I think most people use automatic temperature control. I don't use that, but that was kind of bothersome. Driving is fairly good. All models come with rear steer now, from bottom to top. The rear steer is great. Like, when it's invisible, it's great.
Yeah.
It's invisible. And when it's working, when you do a tight turn, like the turning radius of the short wheelbase one is that of a Golf, and the long wheelbase turning radius is the same as an Evoque.
That's pretty fucking good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Like we did some super light off-roading. The only difficult part was like the switchbacks, which were meant to clearly highlight the rear steer. But yeah, it works. I mean, this is like a really tight, 160-degree corner, and this big-ass truck just went and just pivoted and worked right around it. But then
rear steer is cool
in the
as fuck.
canyons, you didn't feel it at all. It didn't have that weird drifting effect.
Where
like
the back is
Lusso
following
did.
the-
Where it feels like your axle's 3 bolts loose.
Right.
Ride was fine. Steering is super, super numb. Like you were driving by sight, which is kind of weird. It was weird in the mud because you don't know which way the front wheels are turned. And then 23-inch wheels, man.
The last Range Rover was like that. The steering is pretty vague.
I mean, I think a lot of the market doesn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are also probably people that don't want a high-effort steering wheel.
Right.
So, but I just found it. I only cared when we were in mud, and I was like, how far are my wheels turned again? Like, I can't really remember. That was the only time it kind of came up.
Yeah,
But,
and 23s.
23s, they make a ride that should be an absolute carpet, like floating cloud, busy.
Yeah.
Over bumpy pavement in the canyon that we were in. It was like it never felt settled because it's just shuddering across these like you're driving on a cobblestone road. And the cars we've driven with MagRide that had 19s, I didn't feel that. The Rivian didn't do that. Like 23s are gigantic.
23 is like beyond what? I mean, the Rivian, it was like the upper with 22s. It still had a bunch of sidewall.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the upper limit of what I want on any vehicle. Like a big SUV, 22s is like you can stop there.
Yeah.
I think the Urus might have had 23s actually.
I think it did. We didn't drive the Urus on a road. Do you remember the road?
But when I drove the Urus quote off road, even Lambo planned this out. Like it was the off roading was sand. It wasn't because they weren't. You're not going off roading in this thing. This is pure Habibi toy. This is like just in case the Habibis want to know if you can go in the dunes with one of these, you can.
Yeah,
that was
or like
pretty
drive
much
down
it.
your sand driveway to your estate.
Yeah, or snow. It's not for rocks.
No, I agree.
It's for soft low grip surfaces.
And I have no problem with that. It was just the on-road ride would shudder even on expansion joints
That's
and things
not good.
because of the rims are too big.
Yeah, that's not good.
You can order 21s, but I think a lot of that depends on what spec you order. So like I don't think you could get an SV with 21s, but I spec'd one out that was like a normal wheelbase big engine with 21s and it had meaty sidewall, and like I bet that will ride way, way better.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it going to be they're going to sell every one they build?
I think they're going to sell tons of them.
Yeah.
Because it looks better than a Bentayga. It's a little bit cheaper. I mean, it's just they have so much brand cachet in this space. Like they made this market, right? They made the luxury SUV a thing. And I don't think you'd have Cullinan and the rest if you hadn't had Range Rover first.
Yeah.
And now they're like, all right, well, let's just make a more expensive one. And the interiors are really, really nice. And you see one go down the road, even if you see a used one, like it says something about that person.
Yeah, you look rich.
You look rich.
Yeah.
So I was talking to Ken Panton. So he was there. And
he's fucking great. He was at the
very
S8
funny.
event with me like 2 days before that. and we can talk about the S8
That
as well.
guy's busy.
Yeah, he lives on the fucking plane.
No shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
he
don't
was
even
like, I'm
think
going to
he
go to
has a
Delta
house.
Lounge. I was like, I don't have that status, so I'll see you later. And maybe you can speak to this. I've never driven a Cullinan, but he was like, well, if you're going to spend $270 or $250 on, the Range Rover SV, like, why would you not get into a Bentayga? Because the Bentley brand does have an even more luxurious cachet and advertises your wealth even better than the Range Rover brand does, right?
Yeah, but it's heinous.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's right.
It's
but
one thing if
if
you've got the money to stretch to a Cullinan, God bless, have fun. You look rich now.
Mm-hmm.
But Bentaygas to me like they just don't look very good. I mean, there's very few specs of Bentaygas that actually look nice.
Totally agree.
And I found them to be like fairly underwhelming on the inside. Like they're nice, but I'm not like blown away by them by any means. They're comfortable, they're well made, the materials are good. We've got like 3 of them here at Westside. But I've never been blown away by any of them, either from a driving dynamics or they don't feel like that much nicer than a really nice Audi or Mercedes
Q8 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Bentayga. Remember the Maybach GLS? That was nicer than a Bentayga.
It was. Yeah.
It was $100,000 less. $100,000.
That was a bargain, considering how nice and comfortable the interior was.
Those things are underpriced. I can't believe I'm saying this, but that thing is actually underpriced.
To get that level of interior from the Range Rover, you're spending $2.
Yeah.
Like you are. Now the difference, of course, is that the outside of the Maybach
not great looking.
looks bad. But
certain colors can help. You can get it. You can get them in the right color where it actually kind of works. The color we had was weird.
just do full black and delete the emblem on the front.
I saw one that was in all white with
okay.
silver wheels, and it might have even been white with like a silver stripe. And it was pretty cool. Like he looked like a Coke dealer or like Floyd Mayweather, but like it's pretty cool.
Floyd has a big collection of white cars.
It's
right?
all white.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with white, but it's harder to spec that in an attractive color because of the two-tone thing, and that's really strange.
True. They have some sick color options, like with the Range Rover, like really cool, nice stuff.
I'm sad I didn't get to do it because Range Rover always puts on an amazing event. Their fucking hotels and food and shit are always crazy. They're fired.
Yeah.
They have budgets.
Yeah, they do.
But it seems in photos and stuff like it's a really, really nice place to spend your time.
Absolutely.
How was the infotainment like? Fast?
Yeah. Reminded me of Rivian, big screen.
Oh, good.
Reacts really quickly. I had a problem. The first car I drove, the first edition one, the screen directly in front of the steering wheel, like the center part of it was just black. And it should have had nav. It should have had all the things. And we got to our first stop, and I was like, is this supposed to have something, or is that only for like check engine lights? And they were like, oh no, that's supposed to show stuff. And then later I got in a different car and it had all kinds of information and colors and nav and turn by turn. And I was like, all right, well, that one's having a problem. They said that the engineers are like, we'll probably just have to reset it. I mean, there's so many fucking computers and graphics cards in cars today. But that happened. And the car that drove us from the airport, the window shade on the left side did not work. The one on the right side did work.
I imagine these are all pre-pro cars.
I don't think the first editions are. I think they're production, but the ones that I rode in from the airport, maybe. I mean, again, there's so many things in these cars. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, but if they're really upping the price, the shit better work.
It should work when it's brand new because it had like 1,600 miles on it.
Yeah.
I don't know. There's issues. I talked to Kyle Connor today from Out of Spec podcast, and he was talking about Rivian like having a lot of problems that they're not really making too public, but like a lot of owners email him about things that they can fix over the air. But it's like any of these new cars that are complicated, which all cars are. Yeah. But the more money you spend, the more shit is in the car. The more complicated they are, and like there's just teething issues.
Even like my Ford, like I picked it up from the dealer this morning. I don't know if I talked about this on a previous show, but they installed because of two things. One, because I'm me, and two, because my car is a really early car, my Mach-E I'm talking about. Apparently, the first couple thousand Mach-E's that they built all have have had some very similar issues. It's regarded the power windows. Like, remember, my windows would go up,
Yep.
the automatic windows don't work. Regarding the communication terminal, the way it communicates with, it's a connected car, right? And then regarding Apple CarPlay and some stuff like that. Now, it's never, as I've said a bunch of times, it's never affected my ability to drive the car. It's never been anything more than a very mild annoyance. And some things they've been able to reset over the air, some things they reset at the dealer, whatever. But because I didn't, my dealer, they've been great, but they expressed to me some frustrations with, how Ford, like I said, like, when you have these EV companies, like just, Tesla has this really good over-the-air updating system, but they can't fucking screw a car together properly. Ford, the car is screwed together tight as a drum. It's probably the highest quality product they've ever built. But the traditional dealers don't know how to fucking deal with this stuff because they're not computer science engineers, And so I would talk to Mike Levine at Ford, not to try to pull rank or to say, I'm somebody, fix my, not because of that. I said, hey man, just so you know, my dealer expressed frustration to me that they don't really have the resources all the time to deal with the Mach-E problems. One of the things they did was they assigned a Mach-E specialist to that dealer. They sell a lot of Mach-Es there. It makes sense that they should have a specialist. The other thing is they got me in a sort of pilot program where my car now has a direct line to Ford engineering. And apparently there's like 50 cars in America that have this. So I have like a black box installed on my car, basically. And if I hold down the top of the screen, the car has to be stopped. Hold down the top of the screen, it pulls up for like 10 seconds, it pulls up a voice recorder. And I say, Matt Farah, Los Angeles, blah, blah, blah. I don't have to say my VIN number or anything. It's all connected. But I just literally speak, here's what I was doing. Here's what I tried to make the car do. Here's what it actually did on December 4th at 2:04 p.m. And that goes directly to Ford engineering. And then they can pull up the logs and possibly fix it over the air or whatever. So that way I don't have to like go to the dealer. I don't have to call anybody. And it helps them fix the fleet. Now, my dealer said this only happens with Mach-Es that were delivered before May of 2021. They said that none of the 22s have any of the fucking issues that mine have. Wow. So like, it's literally like early adopter shit, right? They say that they've sold so many, they're GM drives, and it's like, and all the cars that were built like February to April 2021 have a similar batch of issues. And so this is to help deal with that. Now, fortunately, I leased the car, so like whatever, they're going to take it back, and whatever will happen to it will happen to it. But consumer advice: if you're buying one used, possibly avoid this thing. Maybe they'll fix it or not, but there might be some little hiccups there. But like, to go back to your point, complicated car, first time, either it's a brand new company or the company's first EV or whatever, it's might be a little iffy.
Yeah, definitely.
Could happen.
There's teething issues for sure.
Yeah. But as of, last week, we've had it for a year. April 7th, 21, we got it. So
Nice.
we almost 9,000 miles. And, overall, it's been really good.
Dude, I like it.
I like it a lot.
I haven't had to deal with the problems, but
Even
I like
the
it.
problems are like, for some reason today, like the icons for Sirius don't have little pictures. They're just words. Like, and then you shut the car off and 20 minutes later it's fine.
Right.
Or like, if you press the auto window up, it goes up and then comes back down. But if you hold it up, it closes. Like, that's mildly annoying, but like clearly it's a software glitch, and like it's never stopped us from getting where we need to go or using the car. It's always been like, this thing, whatever. But despite that, like I'd buy another one.
Yeah, I like it. I recommend them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently this is only an issue for the very early cars. I drove the new S8 It's a facelifted S8 last week in San Diego. I forgot how fucking awesome those cars are. I mean, what a car. That car is so boss in so many ways. It's really fucking fast. I mean, the car and driver ripped 0 to 60 in 3.2.
Whoa.
And it's a 5,000 pound sedan.
Whoa. Yeah.
You know, it's got the air suspension, which has been reprogrammed, but it also has these electromechanical functions. So it scans the road ahead and it can pop the car up to avoid like a pothole or a speed bump. Or if it senses you're going to be T-boned, it can pop up the side of the car into the crash structure.
To make it,
it also uses these electromechanical things to lean into corners. So literally lean it's got rear steer, it's got all-wheel drive, and it can lean into a corner, which is a fucking cool feeling. Because you really
Can you feel it?
You can definitely feel it. Yeah, you can feel it from the driver's seat, although it's really designed to make passengers in the back more comfortable.
So it tilts the car, because the Range Rover uses GPS to like brace the side that will be tilted in a corner. Right. So it basically stays really flat, but it doesn't like
We're not
lean.
talking about loading up the outside shock. I'm talking about literally lowering the inside of the car.
Interesting.
And it can do it quick enough because of the electromechanical to keep up with steering. So that's what it uses the 48 volt mild hybrid for. And like when you walk up to it, you unlock it, and when you grab the door handle and open the door, it pops the car up 2.5 inches to make it easier to get in and out of.
Cool.
Because they're like, people like the crossover height ingress and egress. And then you close the door and it back down. It's fucking badass. It's got the laser headlights that do the little dance thing. Seat massager, superb. The ride, exceptional. I mean, really, really exceptional ride. The brakes felt like they weren't going to fade until I stopped at my end of the video and realized they were on fire. So
how does the ride compare to the RS7 that we had
way better
last year?
It's a cloud.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, no, this is a cloud. Okay. This is a pure glide. Like, I'm driving the Mercedes EQS this week, and compared to the S8, the EQS does not ride well.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. No, the EQS is really sloppy on the big stuff and jittery on the harsh edges. The S8 is pure glide.
Yeah, the EQS is supposed to have like the porpoise issue. Like it reacts to a bump more than once. Yeah. Yeah, that's not good.
I mean, it's not horrible. But it's not an S. It's not an S class.
It's not an S class. But we've also been in cheaper cars where you go over a bump and it settles immediately. That's what you want.
And the S8, you know, with the rear steer, the turning radius is less than an A4.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Rear steer is great for that.
Yeah. You know, it wasn't like revolutionary or anything, but like it reminded me, like, oh, this thing is awesome. Like this, like. We don't talk about how awesome the S8 is enough in the world of luxury cars. Yeah. And it has like just so much trick shit in it. You know, the GPS is great with that Google Earth view, like that, you know, that screen, I'm blanking on what they call it. The virtual cockpit. Yeah. Virtual cockpit, now that they've really dialed it in and it's really fast and responsive, like that's a great system. The stereo in this thing was a banger. I mean, it's I used their press release rather than my notebook, so I don't have the actual maker. Whoever makes it, it is awesome. It's a fucking sick stereo in this thing, and it's pretty value priced. I mean, for what they're selling. For a full size sedan, it's long wheelbase only, and they've dropped the A8 V8. So the A8. There's no more L. They're all L now. The A8 is the twin turbo 6, and the S8 is the V8. And so the S8 gets more power and torque, plus mild hybrid, plus this crazy suspension shit, and all the fucking bells and whistles. There are some options, but like not that much because it's pretty loaded up. It's like 125 to 135 It's a lot of money. I understand. I'm not trying to like be elitist, but like you are getting a lot of car.
And the RS7 that we drove was 120-ish.
It was the same.
And it wasn't the best sports sedan. It was more like a luxury sedan that pretends a sports sedan. So you could spend a little more and get what is aimed at being a luxury sedan.
S8 was more impressive than RS7, I think. The only, like, if your commute somehow involves the canyons, I guess the RS7 would probably be fine. But like in a straight line, the difference is pretty imperceptible.
Right.
And the additional luxury features of S8, I think, outweigh whatever you're getting with RS7. It was very, very, very nice. Like, really impressive how nice it was. And
I want to see what it looks like.
The
2022?
2022, yeah. And the Mission Pacific Hotel we stayed in was really nice. It's a brand new hotel in Oceanside. I really liked it. Yeah, it's the interior is on the gray one on the left there. Yeah. Really nice interior, just simple, not like, techie. Mm-hmm. Obviously techie. Haptic feedback on the touchscreens. Touchscreens are still not my favorite. I still really like some buttons for some things.
Did they not have any buttons for some things?
They really only had buttons for like volume controls. Climate was all touchscreen.
Range Rover is smart where they still have buttons for climate, area, temp, and seat adjustment.
Well, they want you to be able to do a bunch of things with gloves on. That's a big Range Rover thing. They want you to be able to like get your basics settled, like with gloves on.
I think I hope all cars go back to having the basic buttons that we use a lot as buttons instead of the screens.
Yeah. But it's got new front and rear bumpers that make it look a little more aggressive. It's got the really cool laser headlights that are awesome. There's like sunshades on for everything. Right. You can fuck with anything from like any seat. You can move other seats from. It's a good-looking car. It looks
small. I know it isn't, but just the way the proportions work,
yeah,
it doesn't make it look.
It doesn't look huge, and with the rear steer, it doesn't drive huge either. And it's really kind of understated. It's very stealth wealth. When you're inside it, I mean, especially if you're fortunate enough to have a chauffeur, mm-hmm. When you're inside this thing, you're pimping. It's really, really nice. And it was, just tight as a drum, silent in there, really well made, and really, really very pleasant to drive. I mean, highway, great. The ride in the city, we drove over some like cobblestoney shit, great.
Whoever's doing their suspension tuning is good because we had the S5 that I thought rode very well.
It did, yeah.
And then the RS7 rode well.
And the loaded S3 rode very well too, yeah. But this is a great car. I got a video coming out. Zach's got the Range Rover video coming out soon. Are we doing the S8 this week?
Elantra's Monday.
Elantra's Monday. Okay. All right. I was very happy I got to spend a half a day in this thing because it was badass. I really liked it.
Good GT car.
Fucking, yeah. I would do 1,000 miles in this thing. No problem. At a zillion miles an hour.
We drive one to Zion to go to that restaurant.
Oh, yeah. That would be nice. I'm driving a Lucid to Phoenix to go to Pearl Jam.
That'll also be very nice.
Yeah, it should be good.
Sweet.
Marco's going to come with me.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
That'll be really fun. So, yeah, that's going on. Should we...
We have questions.
Should we talk about why Elon Musk trying to buy Twitter is really bad?
If you want to, sure.
It's really bad. I don't, just nothing good could come of a technocrat that doesn't like being criticized, simultaneously saying that he's a champion of free speech and we need to remake Twitter the way he wants it, saying only I can fix this. There's nothing good that could come of that. Fortunately, as of today, April 15th, it seems like the board, there's news this morning that it seems like the board is going to use this poison pill thing.
What's the poison pill thing?
It's where they kill him. No. No, basically like in a hostile takeover, right? If he literally wants to take Twitter private, right? To go from public, he has to buy everybody's shares. Everyone has to sell. And if people refuse to sell, he has to keep upping the price until they sell. Like, so he could take over 51% of the shares, and then that's all he needs to change management and to make corporate decisions or whatever and fucking run the company to the ground if he wants. But but it would still be public. If he wants to take it actually private to where he can just do whatever the fuck he wants, he has to buy everybody out.
Wow.
So if
including public shareholders, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if people don't want to sell, it could be like that fucking house in the middle of the city.
Right. We're talking about, yeah. Surrounded by commercial buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
But it seems like in order to resist a hostile takeover, the board of directors can use this, what they call the poison pill technique, where they have to open up to bids from other people. Before they go, okay, we'll take your bid, they have to go, anybody else? And that could really throw some fucking... It seems like the board, and I'm not, my wife works there. I am not divulging. I'm only talking about things that are, as of today, public. I'm not talking about anything I've heard her talk about in private or anything like that. Fortunately, nothing that was talked about in private over the last few days has not really been made public, right? It's everyone kind of knows where we are as of today. But, here's a guy who disbanded Tesla's PR department because they didn't want to deal with criticism. And instead, their marketing strategy is to have an affiliate sales model by having their super fans have codes that they could use. That's affiliate marketing. And by launching cars into space and figuring out how to associate Tesla with SpaceX and space travel in the future and not dealing with anyone in the media at all. So then he also, swats whistleblowers, smears journalists, and does not and smears critics, right? And encourages his followers to do the same, while saying, I'm a free speech absolutist, which is absolutely fucking untrue. And so the idea that someone who, and Niedermeyer had a great thread about why Twitter is more important to their success than almost any product they've ever sold.
Worth reading.
There's also a fucking study that was done just last week proving that 1 in 5 pro-Tesla tweets is a bot. They have heavily bot-influenced marketing on Twitter. So being able to control that message and literally own, like, you're not defending the public town square. You're owning the town square.
Right, yeah.
You're not saying that I want to fix this so it's in the best interest of everybody. It's saying I'm going to fix this so I can make the rules and do whatever the fuck I want to do.
And it's probably what would happen on the back end for sure. And I saw an interesting counterpoint that was like, well, it's currently Twitter's owned predominantly by like BlackRock Investments, Saudi Prince Fund, like a bunch of other people.
Sure.
So I think the difference, because I do think there is validity to that point of like, well, they might have an agenda as well. The difference is that they don't publicly speak about their agenda.
Right.
Whereas Elon does to a degree, and it's one person versus 8, let's say,
right.
majority holders.
And there's a difference between a shareholder or a fund that is a shareholder and a board member, and then the biggest shareholder that was elected to not join the board, which would actually restrain his purchasing power to 15%. He couldn't buy more than...
If he was on the board?
If he was on the board. You can't buy more than 15%. And also, if you're on the board, you must act in a way that is beneficial to the company. You can't be on the board and then tweet shitting on the company publicly. You're not allowed to do that. If you're on the board, you have to act in the best interest of the board and in the best interest of the company. Now, I'm not saying like the fucking Saudi royal fund is like great people or anything, but I don't believe that they influence the rules at Twitter as shareholders. As a shareholder, you have certain rights. You can demand time of the executives and meet with them and whatever. And most of the things, like the edit button thing that the media is uncritically giving Elon credit for, were in the works for months before anyone knew anything about this. This stuff doesn't happen in a fucking day. That stuff was going on for months. And I believe the edit button personally is a terrible idea, because Twitter is an excellent record of what someone has said, and being able to change it. Like,
it'd be cool if there was a time limit.
Well,
on the
that's
edit,
what I was talking to
like
Hannah
10
about
minutes.
this. Yeah, like if you could fix your typos. You know, you tweet and there's a 5-minute countdown
Yeah.
of you can change this for this much time.
I could use that.
But like imagine, and Hannah gave me a great example. She's like, imagine you tweet, "I love cats," and someone's followed, "Me too, they're the best." And me too, I support that, absolutely, blah, blah, blah. And 10 people support it. And then you go back 5 days later and change cats to Nazis.
Right.
Well,
And all those replies are left there.
right.
That's funny.
And now you have a big problem.
Yeah.
And so you can't, so I'm anti-edit button, although I am pro-typo button.
yeah.
Fix your
typo
spelling
button.
mistake. Typo button, not an after the fact edit button.
Yeah.
And I know somebody who would love to be able to go back and edit their own fucking tweets. Elon Musk would love if his tweets weren't such a good record of his behavior in real time.
I mean, a lot of people that I think speak too freely and just throw shit at the wall.
Yeah.
And that
But-
they would use it.
But, you know, as a publicly traded company, they have a lot of responsibility to a variety of different people, a variety of different voices, both inside the company and shareholders. And to have a technocrat, you know, and oh, by the way, you know, I'm not super happy about fucking Bezos owning the Washington Post or any technocrat owning a major media outlet. But I don't think Jeff Bezos is trying to champion himself of fucking free speech with that. I've not heard that, and maybe he is, and I missed it. But like, I just think that someone who is such an online bully.
Right. Elon's much more vocal
Yeah.
about what he likes and does not like.
Right.
So it's
And
kind of like we can see him coming down the road.
Yeah.
Where, you know, other people, there's plenty of other entities that, you know, it's subjective if they're good or bad, but like own media companies. And that's
Right.
like the larger discussion is, should things like Facebook or Twitter, things that were private companies turned public that then have basically become the public square.
Right.
Should they be public utilities?
Right.
You know.
And I think that's an interesting debate, and in my opinion, maybe they should. But what you shouldn't have is someone that is a true technocrat, but also is a proper online bully, being able to fucking buy the platform that he uses for his online bullying.
Right, because then we don't know what is happening behind the curtain.
Yeah.
You know, down the road, what's being changed, what kind of messages are being promoted. I mean, that's already happening.
Yeah.
It would have a larger distaste.
Yeah.
I think I'd be more concerned about it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm very anti this, and
The bot filter function would probably get thrown in the closet if he got in charge.
yeah,
'Cause
and
they
a
need
bunch of
that.
fucking crazy disinformation people would probably get let back on. A bunch of people that have been thrown off for fucking disinformation.
Yeah.
Which, oh, by the way, he's used the platform to spread disinformation, a variety of it, from bullshit about things his cars will do to COVID disinformation. Like, he's done a bunch of that stuff.
I mean, that's the thing that's really come about in the last 2 years is like, what is disinformation, and then should people be allowed to say whatever they want? It's the whole thing. Like, I may not agree with what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it.
Well, if you're talking about free speech, then it's government intervention on free speech, right?
Right,
It's
so
where you
this is
get
private.
arrested for saying it.
Yes, and this is a company, which
Yeah.
there is the difference.
Yeah.
So
You can still get thrown out of a bar for fucking, you know, dropping the N-bomb on somebody or, you know, calling the bartender a cunt. You know, you're going to get thrown out of the bar for that. Like, and you can argue that Twitter being a private company or be not a private company, but being a business that can ban people is somehow bad. And I will listen to your argument, but it's not the fucking First Amendment. The First Amendment is government.
Right.
And you're right to are you getting arrested for what you're saying. Not are you being thrown out of somewhere or being, quote, canceled, not getting a job, not getting a gig. That's not
why
fucking
these
First
two
Amendment.
colliding ideas where one is we want free speech on this platform no matter what. And then you go, okay, well, it's not a public utility or it's not the actual public square. It is a private thing. It's like you're saying. So one cannot, they both can't exist at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't want, but the only reason that Twitter is Twitter's not pleasant, but the only reason it's as pleasant as it is because of some level of content moderation. With no content moderation at all, with absolute free speech, it would be a fucking horrid cesspool of harassment and fucking racism and terrible, terrible things. I personally don't want it to be that. You know, I don't.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's a weird world we live in, and we are trying to adjust to it as quickly as possible. It's like, you know.
But to say you're
challenging.
a free speech absolutist, it's like this is not free speech. You're not talking. The government's not coming to arrest people for tweeting.
Right.
Unless it's the SEC and you're tweeting in violation.
But it's a very
that.
good talking point to gain fans, supporters, etc., is to act like you are being demonized by the government when you're not.
Yes, I, the richest person in the world, the most powerful people on the planet, am the real victim here.
It's the simplest trick. It's the simplest trick is to create an enemy and then present yourself as either the martyr or the solution to the enemy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. First the martyr, then the solution.
Yes.
Yeah. The final solution.
So far, only one person has used that particular card. But
yeah. So anyway, I'm against, and I believe that ultimately the board of directors will make the right decision. Mm-hmm. Anyway, let's go to questions from the Patreon. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast, of course, is how you get your questions in the show. It's how you have a show without advertising. It's how you get shows the day they are recorded rather than waiting Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, that's where you do it. And as low as $3 a month. I'd like to have another higher tier. I'd like to push this baby into higher gear.
Sure.
I'd like to see maybe what we could add that would be fun. I think we've discussed credits, a credit reel. If you want to, you can have your name in the show credits for a next level. I don't know. We could maybe do some merch or some swag or something.
People like all of those things.
Signed nudes.
We're going to need a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like, I'll do it.
Yeah.
But I need to be able to retire immediately.
Never be seen
Because I won't
again.
be hired again. Yeah.
What do we got? Jake says, I moved, having moved from Jersey to Vegas. This has been the first time I've been exposed to Mexican market cars that come up on vacation. Yeah, you're in the Southwest here. You will see cars on Mexican tags. Are there any Mexican cars we don't get in America that you'd like to drive? I mean,
Amarok?
well, yeah, I mean, I don't know of any cars that are Mexican only. There's a lot of like global market cars that they get down there, like the Volkswagen Amarok, which I guarantee you would be very disappointing to drive. It'd probably be a fucking Touareg with a bed on it.
Yeah.
What they do have are some really great vans. It's some great Toyota vans, like 12-passenger vans, diesel, manual transmission, good stuff. But I was in Mexico for 5 days. I saw one Porsche. It was a Cayenne S. Mexico is a very harsh place for cars. The roads aren't great. It's very hot and dirty and dusty. And so cars are, not that there aren't car enthusiasts. I'm sure if you go into Mexico City, you'll find some car enthusiasts.
Oh, for sure.
But you see a lot of, the folks who really want to play with cars, they're off-road toys. They've got Raptors, they've got trophy truck kind of stuff, side-by-sides. But
Well, I don't think they have, there's no like MDM, like Mexican domestic market, the way there is Japan or Germany,
Right.
where it's like, oh man, only they got the super fast hatchback that we can't get. It's going to be sold other places.
What happens down there is
exist.
the car is discontinued in America and then continually sold in
up,
Mexico
Sentra?
for another 10 fucking years. Yeah. Mike Manillo says, after spending a bunch of time with Donald, can you guys explain the difference between motoring, touring, and driving? I think the age of the car. Driving is any car newer than 20 years. Touring is a car, driving a car from that's 20 to 40 years old. And motoring is when you need a fucking mechanic to come with you.
I would say touring is driving for pleasure. Driving is driving for a task, and motoring is touring, but you need a mechanic.
In a really old car, yeah.
Yeah, when leather is involved in the drivetrain somewhere, that's when you're motoring.
And touring has a destination. You're going on a tour.
Yeah, that's true. Usually,
yeah,
motoring
going on
is
a vacation or on a road trip of some kind. Yeah. Josh J wants me to elaborate on my hate for the moon swatch. He says hype and long lines are dumb, but at MSRP it doesn't seem like a bad deal for a cool swatch brand collaboration. So I agree. Okay, at MSRP, which is like $250, there are things you can buy that are more garbage than that. But for $250, you are buying a plastic watch. You're buying a swatch. Swatches are like $80. They're plastic. They have cheap movements. They're not made to last. They're fundamentally disposable. And if you're a huge swatch collector and you've got 3,000 fucking swatches, God bless, get this one. But my hate for it is that basically Omega, they've knocked off themselves. It looks like a Speedmaster. And if you don't know the ins and outs of a real Speedmaster, it looks a lot like a Speedmaster. It's not made well. It's made of plastic. It's got a crappy quartz movement in it. And for the same amount of money, you can buy real, like a watch that will literally last you the rest of your life. Like I own Seikos that were cheaper than the Omega Seiko collaboration watch that will literally last me forever. They use words like bioceramic, which is plastic. That literally means plastic, right? So it's the same case shape. The dials are rotated in a different way, right? Because the movement is a shitty quartz movement. The fact that there is hype behind it makes me hate it more.
Is it basically like if you like Omegas but you have swatch money, now you can get a knockoff Omega?
But buy a fucking fake. Go to Chinatown and buy a fake. The dials will be in the right orientation. You know, they're knocking off themselves with permission, basically. And I'm not trying to be an elitist snob. I'm not saying if you don't have $8,000 to buy a Speedmaster, then fuck you. You're a piece of shit. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like for $250, you can buy a watch. And I keep going back to Seiko because it's, to me, the most honest watch brand out there at that price. They're not just designing a watch. They design and manufacture the whole movement, top to bottom, soup to nuts. They do all that. And you can buy that watch and you can treat it like garbage and it will still, in spite of you, last you the rest of your life. When people ask me about should I buy this watch or should I not buy this watch, my first thing is not how it looks. It's not the color or the size. It's, is this a quality item that will last you a long time?
Because the question with the Moonwatch is like, will anyone care about this in a year? Like It feels like the hype is really big. There were lines out the door. People were flipping them on the internet.
Yeah.
And like that NFT tweet, in 2 years' time, is anyone going to buy that swatch from you for over the $400 you paid on eBay? Probably
no,
not.
It's not a limited piece. They're available. They're going to be available online. You just order it. They're going to be available. They're making as many as they can sell, and it looks just enough like the real thing that someone who doesn't know any better might. You know what I mean? It's like it's not different enough that it's like a cheeky thing. It's like not they knocked off themselves. They allowed they're, and Omega is part of the Swatch group. Swatch is not just the brand of watches. It is the name of the umbrella company that owns a bunch of other brands.
Oh, okay.
Right? So they have permission. So I'm not like anti-collabs per se. I'm kind of anti-collabs because most of them aren't that good. And
Well, Kanye worked pretty well with shoes. I mean, that collab was great.
well, but like Supreme is another example.
I don't
of
even know
like,
what they are. I just see their sticker and I get upset.
Exactly, because they apply the thing to the thing, and it somehow is something worth doing. And maybe that just makes me seem old and uncool because I'm not into collabs, and that's like or drops per se. But with watches, my main thing is this a quality item or is this a cheap piece of shit? Mm-hmm. And that's a cheap piece of shit. If you collect cheap pieces of shit, fucking collect that. You like plastic watches? Fucking have at it. But like, you're not buying a high quality item. Right. So that's why I don't like the fact that people would stand in line overnight for something that is so obviously a cheap piece of junk. And you know what I mean? And then other idiots would pay deep into the 4 figures or even sometimes 5 figures for a cheap piece of junk. That's
crazy.
It's so stupid to me that it makes me angry at how stupid we are.
Yeah, the hype train is strong.
Yeah. I think we solved we went to Dante's thing.
Yeah. The Autopian is the answer, Dante.
Yeah, right. Adam says 2 questions or requests. Any good gin suggestions?
I like St. George.
Sip Smith?
Big fan of that.
Yeah, Sip Smith is great. Monkey 47 is good. Yeah, I like that. And Adam wants to hear more about my kitchen in my new house.
What was the deal with your BTUs?
The BTUs, baby. It's all about those BTUs, brother. I put a bigger gas line in for more BTUs. We went from a 1-inch to a 1.5-inch gas line, so we could have
long tubes.
It's like having long tube headers. Yeah, it's like going from a 2-inch exhaust to a 3-inch exhaust.
Have
to
MagnaFlow. Have Richard Whitus set you up with your tube.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just about those BTUs, brother, and about the air going out. The suction of the overhead fan is like 10,000 CFM.
That's important. Have you ever been in a bathroom where you turn the fan on and you're like, that's not going up. That's going up and then against the ceiling and back down. You're like, this is a lie.
Yeah. Foxicious.
This question is a little complicated.
If you had to pick a single color, for 6 of your favorite manufacturers that suited each of their whole lineup,
So like what color would you choose for Ferrari for all of their cars for the last 50 years? Like you
Red.
can choose one.
So red.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think that's the question.
So red for Ferrari. The colors they race with in Formula One.
Right.
Red for Ferrari.
Blue for Ford.
Blue for Ford. Silver for Mercedes. White for Audi.
Probably green for Lotus.
Green for Lotus.
BMW would also be blue. A different blue.
Yeah. I would say chalk for Porsche.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah.
They have so many better colors. I'm so sick of chalk. I'm so over that shit.
Sure. And for Chevy,
Yellow. The yellow Corvette.
Yeah.
It's also the bow tie color.
Yeah. All right. Solitary Hero, what is a better driving experience? A 991 GTS manual or a 991 T manual? I mean, you're really splitting hairs. Unless you drove those cars immediately. The difference is power. The GTS has more power. The T has T's have the small engine with some lightweighting stuff.
Isn't it smaller? Isn't it narrower?
No, not a 991. 991 are the same.
Oh.
Yeah. Is it narrower?
I thought it was a smaller vehicle.
I want to say,
The odds are that I'm wrong in this arena.
991.2, is there one body for all the Carreras and one? I mean, that wouldn't be the most noticeable thing, though. The most noticeable thing is really the power difference. And you can get some of the way back there with an ECU tune. Now, the GTS has some other hardware stuff that it's not just the tune, but it's really just the power. I mean, you can option, you don't notice lightweight glass really in the T. The T is a collection of options. Like the T and the GTS are actually very similar theories, right?
The idea is the same.
The idea is the same. You take a collection of performance options and you apply them, in the case of the T to the base car, in the case of the GTS to the S car, and you get like a 10 to 15% discount by buying those options in bulk, basically. So the experience is not hugely different. One just goes faster. So, yeah, that's it. Ryan West, do we think Rogan and company are being paid by Tesla? I don't. I just don't think that I think that Joe has fallen victim to the Elon's nice to me, therefore he must be a good person.
I don't know what they're referring to.
I mean, he sucks up to Elon.
Oh.
He sucks up to Elon in a pretty
I mean, he probably
gross
doesn't
way.
pay attention to NHTSA rules, lack of response, crash like the way we do. Like, it's just that he has lots and lots and lots and lots of things he's trying to learn at the same time.
Yeah.
I don't think he needs to be paid by Tesla for anything because he has a fuck ton of money.
He has way too much money.
Yeah. He's just like a fan of the thing he drives, and that's fine.
Yeah. I don't think he looks into it analytically in the way that we do. And more importantly, that's not like Joe's problem. Like he's a car person, but he's not like, it's not his job.
Yes.
Like a lot of people don't pay attention to the very important details that are the difference between
everything. I mean, everything.
Yeah.
The number of things going on in the world where it's like, have you seen this? It's terrible. And you're like, no, I didn't have time. I had to feed my kid and take a shit. You're like, well, tomorrow. Like, it's just how it works.
Yeah.
We can't all analyze everything.
Yeah. JK, if you weren't automotive journalists who drive press cars all the time, would your personal car buying choices be different? Yes, definitely. My personal car buying choices are based entirely around the fact that I have press cars to drive a lot. I probably wouldn't have a bunch of old shit. I'd probably put my money into a very usable, modern, sports car that I could drive like all the fucking time for a bunch of different things. You know?
Same.
And the fact that I have press car access also eliminates my need or helps me recognize that if I tried to keep up with the Joneses with all the new supercars and stuff, I'm glad I'm not in that game. I'm glad I don't have a Huracan but see the new Huracan and want to buy that, and then see the new McLaren and want to buy that. There's a lot of these folks we see at car shows that always need to have the newest thing, but getting to taste the newest thing for a week at a time does a lot of scratching of that itch.
Well, and also by testing the thing, for a little bit, I think we're allowed to like calm down. Like if you were constantly shopping for a new thing, you get the anticipation, right? And you're so excited to go to the dealership, and you already think you want to buy this thing, so you probably buy the thing, and then you overlook what's wrong with it. You might overlook the capacitive buttons or the haptic stuff, and then you just sign the thing and you get the lease going, and then you go, 6 months later, the new Golf, I kind of wish I had the old one. So I think we're able to like be a little bit more measured and just kind of calm down before we would make a purchase decision. Yeah,
and getting to go out and drive shit really fast, like press cars and give them back and whatever, it makes me kind of appreciate like I don't feel the need to do that with my own cars. So having a Ferrari from the 80s is a more rewarding experience because I don't get that experience from the new cars.
Right.
But I drive the new cars, so I know what it's like, and I get it out of my system, and then it's a different thing. So I like that. Cy Turner wants to sample LA car. What cars and coffees do you recommend? I mean, it depends on what weekends you're here. Like the one in Malibu is like the first and third weekend of the thing. And there's one in Manhattan Beach. It's like the fourth Saturday of the month. And so like there's like all kinds of, there's like Manhattan Beach, there's the Huntington Beach one, there's Malibu, there's Supercar Sunday in the Valley. I mean, there's so many of them.
It really depends on what part of town you're staying in with your family, and then there will be
and
one
also
near
what
you.
weekend you're coming. Like they're not every single weekend. A lot of them are one weekend a month or every other.
Bills is like every week, basically.
Yeah, that's become a real fucking problem. The sheriff's department is like now fucking back involved, and so you can't go to Bills before 10 a.m. now. It's really a fucking. It's really a problem.
There are a lot of them. And there are some that we don't even know about. Like, I'll be looking at Instagram, and Di was like at some tuning shops, like, you know, Japanese cars and coffee, and there's like 100 cars there. I'm like, I didn't even know about it until it was already happening.
Yeah.
So just follow people on Instagram, and you'll see something.
Instagram is the best way to figure it out. Miguel Flores, I don't really understand the question. 911R, were those investment machines? I heard they were all flipped for profit. I mean, a bunch were, but like a bunch weren't. I mean, here's a car that was like, I think it was maybe 280,000 new. And they only made a small number. Now, I remember that at the time they made the 911R, the GT3 didn't have a manual.
Right.
So it was the only way you could get that engine with a stick. So, of course, there was a major flip that happened afterwards. Porsche then came out with the Gt3 Touring to give a middle finger to those flippers. The Touring isn't exactly the same car as the 911R. There are subtle differences, but it's pretty close. So a bunch of people flipped them. Then the Touring came out, and the 911R went from 280 MSRP, flipping for 8,900 for a couple months.
Crazy.
Touring comes out, they drop down to around 400. And then for like a few years, they hovered in the 3s, 4s, and now because the market of everything is high, they're back up, and very low mileage ones are high 4s, maybe low 5s, and there's a ton of money. But I have a client who keeps a 911R here at Westside Collector Car Storage, has no interest in selling it, and when he comes to Los Angeles, that's his car. He fucking drives it. And I know a few people that have 911Rs that really, really enjoy driving them. And it's like any other very rare Porsche. Some people buy them to appreciate them, and some people, you know, when the 918 Spider came out, if you bought one of those new, you got access to all the GT cars. You got a license. All those allocations for 10 years. If you bought a 918 Spider, you could get an allocation for every GT car they came out with for 10 years.
Wow.
These people are rich as fuck, and they're not stupid. So if you have the allocation, you just take it. You just buy it. And you drive the car a couple times, and if you don't like it, you flip it, and your allocation is worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, you know, the people who liked the car kept the car.
It's like there are some people that intentionally bought them as investments, and then there are people that they happen to be investments because they have the allocation, and it turned profitable automatically.
Dan E says, who will be the first manufacturer to make an EV with a dual motor, rear wheel drive only setup? Dodge.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Porsche, but it's
tear up the
Dodge.
Streets is the Dodge EV motor. EV. Yeah.
Yep.
Tear up the streets, baby. It's gonna be a Dodge.
Silent burnouts.
Sean Gallagher says, in 10 years, do you think exotic manufacturers or, quote, common manufacturers will be making gas-powered manual sports cars, or are we looking at a future of mild hybrids with 4-pot turbos and paddles? When will we stop seeing fuel delivered to gas stations? I don't think we'll stop seeing fuel delivered to gas stations in our lifetime.
That's a long way.
We may see a reduction in the number of gas stations because if you looked throughout our country, there are probably too many.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's 4 at one intersection.
Yeah, we don't need that. We could cut the number of gas stations in our country in half and still have plenty of fucking gas stations.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there's a town with one gas station and we should take their gas station away.
Aren't you?
Nowhere.
I think you are.
That's what I'm saying.
I think that's what you're
That's what
saying.
I'm
Liberal,
saying, fuck those fucking
California
country
liberal.
hicks and their one gas station.
You don't want them to have gasoline? That's how those
There
get
are,
propagated.
like Zach just said, intersections in Los Angeles where it's a 4-way intersection and there's 4 gas stations.
I went to one because there was a hydrogen station at only one of them,
Yeah.
and the directions weren't specific enough, and I was like, which one is it at? I thought it was at the gas station. I think we will see an absolute reduction in the number of companies that make manual sports cars, but they will still be for sale in 10 years. It just may be special editions or from really small manufacturers like Morgan or any of those like new pop-ups like that, you know, Glickenhaus. They make an Austin Healey that's $500,000, like stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, and it's kind of our own fault.
Totally, 100%.
If we just bought, if we the customer presented a business case for them making them, they would make them.
Yes.
I mean, Porsche still makes them.
It's literally supply and demand.
Yeah.
It's like the first lesson you ever have in economics class.
Yeah.
If no one is demanding manuals, they will stop supplying them.
Yeah. Yeah. Derek, let's see. Derek Yegan, looking to upgrade my girlfriend's 2012 Yaris. Something that can get out of its own way but isn't too big. Currently suggesting Kona N, Elantra N, and Mazda 3 hatch. Well, we have a video coming out with the Elantra N. We've driven the Mazda 3. The
Kona N is nice. It's an Elantra N
with a taller roof.
With a taller roof, and it's a little better looking and has a seat height she might like better.
Yeah, the Elantra N, we just had it for a little while. I mean, it's a nice car. You get a lot of performance for your money. It's pretty fast. The dual clutch gearbox was good. I didn't love the seats, but if you don't look like me, if you look more like Zach than me, you might like the seats a little better. I found the seat bottoms to be a little bit narrow, considering how aggressively bolstered they are.
It's also, if she wants a sporty vehicle, fine. If she doesn't want that, like I think the highway miles per gallon on the Elantra N was like 31 or 32.
Yeah.
But you can get a Civic or whatever these days that get like 40 or high 30s. And if she's doing 25 miles each way, that will add up in terms of cost. So
and also the Elantra N feels sporty like all the time.
True.
Like it's nice, but like if she drives a Yaris right now, and
It'll
you're
feel like a
trying to
race car.
get her into an N
because
it'll
your
feel like a
WRX
race.
is broken,
Right.
which you're rebuilding.
Right.
So I see what you're up to. I see what you're
But
doing,
like
Derek.
the Mazda 3 Turbo was a really nice place to be. It wasn't that fast, but it wasn't bad. The materials, the stuff you touched, the style of the interior was very nice. And so if you're really just like running errands around town and you have a special car for fun stuff, cruising, camp, whatever, and you want good fuel economy and a nice place to spend your time, like maybe that Mazda.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Or even the new Civic is really a very nice place to spend your time. Oh boy. What do we got?
1, 2, 3, 5.
All right. Ben Halloran, first sports car, 23 years old, owns a Mark 6 Golf. I'm looking to buy either a 2011 Boxster S, a 2008 Z4M, or a 2006 S2000. All of these are between $26,000 and $33,000. I have a $3,000 budget for mods such as coilovers. Well, first off, if you have that $3,000 budget, it's not going to be going to coilovers.
Sure isn't.
I
That's your
guarantee
repair
you,
budget, my friend.
a 2011 Boxster S or a 2008 Z4M will need at least $3,000 worth of something.
Yeah.
Guaranteed. And if it doesn't from the day you buy it, it will in the first few months.
Yeah.
For sure. Now, in just driving dynamics, I would rather own the Boxster S, probably.
Yeah, and it's also your first sports car, so I think that is the safest and most forgiving one because the engine's in the middle, so it's less likely to swap ends when you get something wrong. Whereas the S2000, I don't know if that's AP1 or 2, but like they're known for having
06
that
would be
toe
2.
change, so it's a little bit more on the edge. You got to be way up in the rev range. Like it's definitely, I feel like it's more of an advanced car. And then the Z4M, I don't know. I think the Boxster is more interesting, and the Z4M was probably less reliable.
So S2000s that's going to be the least good to drive of those three.
For just driving around.
Just for just driving.
Yeah.
Yeah. No torque. Not particularly exotic feeling unless you're really romping the shit of it. Nice shifter.
Only ergonomics are good if you are the right size.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're bad. And you can't change them.
And they're fucking loud on the highway. The road, they're light, but like the road noise, the wind noise, like it's not a refined experience. Z4M. I don't know if he's talking about it. He doesn't say coupe here, but if it is a coupe, it's much more refined inside. And Boxsters are pretty good with the top up. Z4M will probably be the fastest. I'd rather own the Boxster, but the problem with Boxsters is there's a lot of stuff that is expensive to fix because you either have to take the engine out or you have to take like the top out to get to the engine. Like there's just like a lot of extra steps in repairing
Whereas
things.
the Z4M, you could repair most of it yourself with YouTube.
Yeah, pretty straightforward. Yeah. I don't know. I'm also not that into S2000s. I realize there are people who do really like them a lot. Maybe it's just because I don't fit in them, but they don't really do anything for me, especially not at collector grade pricing.
And it seems like he's driving from the UK and thinking of driving to the Nürburgring.
Yeah. For road trips, I'd rather have the Boxster.
Or the Z4.
Yeah.
Take into consideration, like, what's your repair budget? Is it $3,000 a year? Like, if you're going to want to do these repairs yourself, Z4.
Yeah. Stephen Hamilton wants to talk about 3 pedals in the Supra. Toyota teased a manual. They should have. I mean, hopefully it has a BMW gearbox and not the crappy one.
Well, hopefully the BMW gearbox will be strong, but it'll probably still have the shifter we don't love. But the aftermarket will hopefully help with that. And it'll be interesting to see, going back to take rate, supply demand, like how many people are going to order that. Everyone likes to complain when the companies don't make the thing, and then only 10% of the people who complain usually buy the thing. So
I'm happy because it'll be a video that we can make. That's because because we're only doing sports and sporty cars, I'm constantly worried about running out of cars. So if they make it and it comes out this year, that would be nice.
I mean, I'm happy for clutch kicks and row your own and all those other things.
I hope it's with the 6 though. I hope it's not just a 4-cylinder option because the 4-cylinder sucked.
Yeah, that would be.
The 4-cylinder was pretty weak.
No.
Yeah.
We'll see what it feels like.
Chappie says, have we seen complaints from F1 drivers that the Aston safety car is too slow compared to the Merc? I haven't. Have you?
Yeah, I did.
Really?
Verstappen was like, the safety car was just going a lot slower than when the Mercedes was leading the drive.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
which
funny.
was kind of funny.
They think it's the car? They think it's the person driving it? Is it the same person driving it?
Great question. I don't know if it's the same person driving it.
I mean, the Mercedes is quite a bit quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but
that's funny.
I thought it was funny because Aston could have been like, well, we still passed you at the end because Max's shit broke.
No, I haven't seen that, but Zach confirms, and that is indeed funny.
People are complaining that they went slower.
Maybe that's why Aston's doing the V12 Vantage.
For the new, instead of, what have they been running around at? V8 Vantage instead in front
The
of
Vantage F1 edition.
Yeah, that's right.
For the pacing of the cars. That's very funny.
I mean, it's definitely not going to be as fast around the track as the AMG GTR. Like, not at all.
James Cowley, will petrochemical companies fuel their own downfall with rising gas prices and record profits? Well, record profits certainly won't fuel their downfall. No. At what point, he says, will gas prices outweigh the lacking infrastructure offerings for electric cars? Would you expect this point in time to arrive soon or once we get summer blend in SoCal? I mean, it's certainly not happening this year. If he thinks that we're gonna have electric infrastructure that'll outweigh the efficiency of the gasoline infrastructure this year by summer, no, not happening.
No. It takes a very, very long time to build those things.
I mean, look, gas prices going up are bad on an individual level, right? Because it costs people money and it affects people who have the least money the most.
Right. It affects food prices. It affects everything.
Yeah. But in Europe, for instance, they drive way more efficient cars than we do here. In general, the trucks are more efficient. Not everyone who swings a hammer for a living drives a fucking F-350. You know, I have, and I recognize that I say this as a wealthy person, but I've always thought that if our gas prices got to where Europe has been living for 20 fucking years, that we might stop buying such ridiculously huge vehicles for every little task. You know, I think that there's not, and I'm talking about luxury cars, I'm talking about trucks, I'm talking about, like, in Europe you can get like a diesel 6-cylinder S-Class. And maybe diesel isn't the answer because it's not with the environment or whatever, but you know, Audi, for instance, the regular A8 now is a twin turbo 6, not a standard being a V8. You know, like I would like to see, you know, us as a nation become a little less egregious with the way that we are with our consumption.
Right.
And so it would be much easier, you know, if it forced big spenders such as the U.S. Postal Service and bus infrastructure and big corporate fleets to move towards electric or move towards a more efficient propulsion. And it would be nice if some of our citizens recognize that we don't need these enormous vehicles for everyday tasks. You don't need to buy a Suburban because you had a baby. That's not necessary.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know, my friend Dave, who I like very, very much, had a first child and went out and bought a fucking Hyundai Palisade. Like, what do we need that giant thing for? Like, you know,
to put stuff in, and then now you have a bigger void. You need to buy more things to fit in the void. But yeah, the families in Europe have been doing it without those vehicles for a very long time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we need a catalyst. It's also, Misha Mansour pointed this out to me, that like the prices are not that crazy when adjusted for inflation. It's like our gas prices have underpaced inflation.
Yeah.
And now,
the fuel companies have been
like
subsidized. We've been subsidizing these fuckers.
Of course, which people don't realize, but oftentimes people that are against subsidies for like solar, you know, companies don't realize that we are subsidizing corn, ethanol, other things like that. Like a lot of money goes into all these different places. It just may be just like in was it 4-ish? We were getting bigger and bigger SUVs, Excursion, Expedition, Like there was just this cock pump measuring contest happening with SUVs, and then gas prices spiked because of the war, and it was like, Prius. Introducing the Prius.
Yeah.
Everyone's buying a Prius. This might be the same thing where it kind of checks us because we were getting a little out of hand. Like all the markets were very frothy as of last year. Stock, crypto, cars, everything was cheap. Money was fucking, you know, they'll give you money for no interest.
Yeah.
And so this is what happens. Like things take a tumble and we have to get checked.
Yeah.
It would be nice if it caused a change that lasted instead of a temporary 5-year change where people start buying hybrids, but then gas gets cheap again and they go back to buying trucks.
Yeah. I mean, I think for like if you really, really need a truck, you really, really need to tow something, like, okay, I got it. But like a lot of places I visit in this country where you know, just your drive to work vehicle or your go to the office vehicle is a fucking enormous thing.
And like the Range Rover, like the big engine was nice. It gets you to 60 in like 4.5 seconds. So getting on ramp, it just feels like you're getting up to speed quicker. And then when I drove the inline 6, it was like, all right, yes, it felt slower. But what you're doing in a Range Rover is just getting up to whatever the speed limit is and then just sitting in a comfy place.
Yeah.
Like no one's racing these things. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So it's fun to have the big loud engine, but I think society would be fine if everything got downsized a little bit.
Well, that's also, we say this about electric cars a lot too. I understand because a big engine feels powerful even when you're not using all of it. But with an electric car, it feels exactly the same as the smaller one when you're not using all of it. There's literally no difference.
Right.
And so that's why it kind of makes me sad to see this ridiculous horsepower war in electric cars, because it's not like you are rewarded. You get to feel the cammy, burble toony fucking hot rod motor versus a puny little 4-cylinder. It's like, no, they feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the difference is what happens on the floorboard.
They sound and feel exactly the same when you're looking for a parking spot, you know, whereas if you're driving a Demon, it feels different.
Yeah. So I don't know. I hope that it affects market trends, but unfortunately, like a lot of the way our society is set up is that more equals better.
Yeah.
You sell more things, you build more things, you make more things, you get people to buy more things, you pile more profit into those things, and that's how our society is set up. Our society is not set up to reward using less, you know, or buying something smaller, or down, you know, or doing anything that actually, like, we literally are at a point where we have to hope that companies will just be like, yeah, let's save the planet. Like, we just have to hope that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Like,
there was a time where public storage didn't really exist.
Yeah.
Which was interesting. Like that whole thing, like the companies, but also just the idea of like having these places that you rent because you can't fit all your stuff, didn't really exist because we didn't buy as many things. And then consumption grew.
Where are we?
I'm aware. You know. And even just household stuff, like, okay, well, I have these extra baseball cards, and I don't know when I'm going to need this extra dresser, but I should keep it just in case. You know, we just store stuff.
Yeah, I don't. It's a totally valid comparison. I don't think storage units necessarily are a problem.
No. I'm just saying it's an indicator of a society that became one that was built based on consumption.
Right.
Because basically our economy is based on consumption.
Right. I'm glad that we are able to have cars stored. Like, we're pretty spatially dense here as far as parking lots go. Most people aren't going 5 vertical and doing 130 cars in 10,800 square feet. I'm pretty proud of that. And by having a space here, it means that people aren't trying to build bigger garages on the beach or in places where, you know, they're not tearing down a beautiful old home that might have a smaller driveway or car to do that, or trying to fucking, you know, build some colossal thing. I'm glad that we get to do that. But like, yeah, and regarding like collector cars, I think, I don't want to seem like too much of a hypocrite, but if a car is sitting, it's, you know what I mean? It's like, you can only drive one at a time. So if you have a few cars, you know, it's not, and you have a reasonably efficient everyday car, and then you take out your Porsche a few times a month, I don't think that's so horrible. But it's not, I don't think it's as horrible as driving around a fucking F-350 as your commuter and doing 40,000 miles a year in that.
I mean, yeah, it would depend on the CO2 of each one, but if someone commutes in, you know, a hybrid normally, and then they have a fun car, like that is, you are making less of a dent for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I realize I'm in the collector car storage business, but I think the fuel prices it would be nice if it pointed us in the direction of maybe consuming a little less, you know. Anyway. Oh man, I don't want to answer that one.
All right. I feel like we ended on a strong one.
We ended on a strong one, and that one's like, yeah. I don't like the ones where it's like, think of 10 things right now. Like,
what air freshener smells would you create for 12 different cars?
Yeah. What do we got? What do we got going on next week? Do we have some gestation yet, or what? We've got. No, we got to figure this one out, huh? Don't we? We got the MDX coming in. We've got the new 911 Turbo, the lightweighting package. We're going to have to find some friends to come podcast with us, I think.
All right. We can do that.
We'll have to work on that.
Yeah. And then we also go to the Nissan launch in 2 weeks.
Yeah, 400Z. That's going to be very fun.
I'm going to go drive the GV60, which is like the electric Genesis SUV.
Yes.
And
yeah, it should be good.
Yeah, it was a dense April in terms of cars.
It was. We had a lot. I mean, I drove fucking 4 cars the week before I went out of town. We also drove GT4 RS on the street, which which we didn't even get to today.
We did not.
I forgot. I literally, until I looked at my calendar, I forgot all about that.
I mean, it's really great. It's really great.
Oh, shocking.
That's
yes.
Yeah.
It is. Yes, it is very, very good. It makes all the right noises.
It does.
Okay, that's our show. Thank you to all our patrons for giving us some good questions, and we will see you next week. Bye.